So there's more to holding on to a piece of wood than just simply a scroll chuck. Let's talk about other options.
Boom. Mm-hmm.
So one of the critical tools in most shops is a way to mount something after you basically turned it, and you need to clean up the foot, for example, or you need to work on the wrong side of it. This is a Cole soft jaw. It's a classic. The concept here is we have non-marring nibs, I guess they should be called. For years and years, I used an Allen wrench to take these on and put them off, and I finally just simply glued the screw into the nib, and so now it's just easier to do this by hand. They don't have to be terribly tight. One of the little shortcuts you might consider is I've made I'm a wood turner. I've made a little stand, so when I need to mount something or move the nibs, it just mounts on my tool rest. Here is a bowl. Doesn't particularly need work, but I'm going to use it for my example. The way the soft jaws work, obviously, is these nibs. These nibs hold on to the bowl softly without marring it, and then you tighten this on. These jaws are plates that mount on, in this case, a one-way chuck, a stronghold chuck, and I'm just tightening that on. Now, as the name implies, this is a soft jaw, so it means it's holding on to it, but it's not holding on to it very well. So I strongly suggest that when you're working with soft jaws, you employ the tailstock. So I'm going to very quickly, show you how you would rework a tenon on a bowl. This actually does not need reworking. This is an old bowl that's been bouncing around the shop for a while. So I suggest you engage the tailstock to give it extra support. The Cole company that started making this, they're now sold by Nova, suggests that this not go over 600 or 700 RPM, I think. I'm running this right now at 600. I want to reshape this foot, convert a tenon into a foot. So I'm doing what I call taking very small bites of wood with a very small bowl gouge. Now, there's not a table or a counter on the planet that's flat, so you almost always want your feet to be concave. So I'm going to create a little ridge. Taking very small bites of wood, I call it. Now, I'm down to almost nothing, so now I can afford to back the tailstock with the live center out of the way, and I can take that last little bit out. Pretty easy, huh? So one of there's a lot of uses to coal jaws that people don't even realize. One is I can use a longer screw and stack these rubber pieces to accommodate things that are taller. And sometimes even that's not enough. Sometimes you need to hold on to a piece that's got such an unusual shape that you're having trouble. This is not a non-invasive way to do it, but you can actually mount a regular jaw into a cold jaw, and you can see with this additional reach, I could hold on to some pieces that would be impossible to hold on to any other way because of its mass. I might do that, put 4 of these in, hold on to a big blank, and create a tenon if there was no other way to do it. So there's a lot of possibilities here. Another possibility is to take these nubs out of the cold jaws, out of the soft jaws, and these can actually be mounted in a standard chuck. In other words, take these jaws out and mount this. So that's a very small soft jaw. So that's another real possibility for problem solving when it comes to chucking. One of the considerations, one of the options you have for soft jaw mounting is this is a jar lid, and let's just say I need to rework it in some way. I've taken the nibs from soft jaws and I mounted them right on the lower car, the travelers, of a one-way chuck, and now I've got a miniature soft jaw. And even if I didn't own the cold jaws, I could just buy these separately and look. So I could sand that, rework it, maybe do an inset, maybe the customer wants a penny put in there of a certain year. There's a lot of possibilities, but you can see that that's a miniature soft jaw. So one of the I'm going to say it's almost a lost art in the world of wood turning are jamb chucks. Jamb chucks historically have been with a hardwood like maple or holly. I've taken to using cork. I buy very, very high density cork from a gasket company that's here in the Port Orchard area near where my studio is. I'm on the western shore of Puget Sound. And what I do is I mount it on a glue block. In this case I tapped the matching thread into the glue block, but I could go with just a glue block. And if I put this on here, and let's pretend for some reason we need to take this piece of myrtle, this is a myrtle bowl I made, 10 years ago, and we need to remount this for some reason. It's hard to say why, but maybe it warped, maybe it cracked, maybe it just doesn't, maybe it doesn't set true anymore. So I'm going to jam it on there, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to just make this fit. Now I've already used this a couple of times, so I've reshaped it for other bowls. I do that all the time. So I'm just going to take my bowl gouge and shape the cork until this fits on there, and I'm going to guess I have to take a 1/4 of an inch off. This is really dense cork. I know you guys are going to ask me where I get that, so I'm almost on it already. And as the name implies, the concept here is we are jam fitting this on. I'm very, very close. We are jam fitting this onto the jam chuck. And no, it's not as strong. It's not as strong as a full 4-jaw scroll chuck. It's on there, and I could engage my tailstock. It's probably going to wobble a little bit at first. I made this, like I said, I made this about 10 years ago. So I can take this, just for the exercise of it, I could take this and I could retrue the bottom. It doesn't need to be retrued, but I'm going to do it anyway just to show you guys. So if I come in here, and at this point, I've got a good enough grip on it. With that jam chuck, I can probably do this and do a very light touch. So that's the way jam chucks work. And I have all sorts of jam chucks. I've got, here's one that's well used, that I've used to put stuff inside of jars. I've got long skinny ones that just simply go into my stronghold chuck. It's really a great art. Take a little time to make your jam chucks. You don't have to be cork, although I'm a real big proponent of that. And you see that was a pretty safe cut, and you'd be hard pressed to do that faster or quicker another way. So what do you do when you screw up on your tenon? Here's a tenon that I made to fit that, but look, I made it too small. So what do you do when you do that? Everyone does it. It happens to us all from time to time. So we have to come up with some solutions. Now, one of the solutions, obviously, is to take this off and re-tenon it. But sometimes you can't even do that. So what do you do? So let's come up with some solutions. The solution is to just simply wrap a good heavy duct tape, for example, around your tenon and make it larger and have that fit into the jaws. Another solution is to take two jaws out of your chuck. Now, warning, warning, warning. This isn't as safe as obviously having all four jaws in. But two jaws, in almost all cases, will close much narrower. And that is now firmly on my chuck. And it's holding pretty good. A lot of it has to do with the size of the tenon. But removing two jaws solves a lot of your misfit tenon issues. So another solution is to make a ring that will hold on to this. So here I've got a piece of round wood on my lathe. I'm going to drill a hole in it very quickly. And this is more complicated, but sometimes this is the best way to go. I won't go through all of the details of it, but you'll get the point. So I'm basically re-tenoning my bulb length by creating a ring that can be glued over the old tenon, the one that's too small. So you can see what I can do here is I can make that hole bigger and glue it on with wood glue, tight bond glue, and then mount this into a new chuck.